Suni.
And I'm Jake Hoffman.
And this is Moderately Outraged. So right now, you can go out to Walmart and go shopping. There are protests and riots in the streets with thousands of people. But according to Democrats, it's too unsafe to vote in person.
Yeah, and that's what has us moderately outraged this week. The fact that we have to even come on and talk about the fact that all polls should be open on election day. All of the early voting polling stations should be open during early voting. The fact that we even have to come on and have a discussion about that just shows where we are in this country right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason it's so outraging is that in other countries, where even nations where they know that the elections are going to end up rigged, people will line up for hours upon hours in order to vote, even just symbolically, because they feel like it is a part of their duty and their right to participate in democracy. And that's something that we in America seem to be missing. And something that in particular has made me outraged is that women who claim to be feminists are saying, oh, it's too dangerous for me to go vote, I might catch COVID. When back 100 years ago, when we got the right to vote, women in the women's suffrage movement, like Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony, put their bodies at risk. They were arrested, they were tortured, they were force-fed, all in order to gain the right to vote. But now you as a feminist are saying that, oh, I can't go line up at the polls because of COVID.
You might catch a disease that has a 99.8% survival rate.
It's a ridiculous argument.
Yeah, and the fact is, if you can go to Walmart and if you can go to Target and you can stand in line and wear a mask and socially distant, there is zero reason why all polling stations cannot be open. And there's no reason to push mail-in ballots in places that are not prepared to do it. Now, one of the things I want to talk about today is the difference between absentee ballots and mail-in voting, which are two separate things. Now, when it comes down to absentee ballots, that's something that, like in the state of Florida here, you can actually request one. You know you're going to get it. That's how you're voting. And you send it back, and it's a safe process. If you talk to a supervisor of elections or Democrat, Republican, everybody's confident that it is handled well, it is handled appropriately, and we feel that it is a safe way to vote, and it has been for many, many years. Now, where the complaints come in is our mail-in voting, which is just sending out ballots across the state to every registered voter in the county. Now, when you do something like that, now people are not expecting it. You've got households of people who have moved or died or not there, or who knows what the situations are, but it is just a recipe for disaster because we've never even done it before in a lot of these states, or rural counties are not prepared for it. And I can't stress enough the difference between counties and states, because all of the states, for the most part, like 99% of them, are going to be able to handle this just fine. Now, there are pockets, like I'm from Palm Beach County and Broward County down in South Florida. These are not places that I trust mail-in voting. I barely trust voting down there. So
Palm Beach and Broward County should be known as like Recount County.
Yeah, so
and by the way, they are the bluest counties in the entire state of Florida.
Yeah, so the point though is that it's not so much the conversation about the post office, which is what it seems like that's the narrative that happens to be going on in the news right now. It's not that there's a lack of ability at the post office, which is what people want you to believe, but it is about the poll workers and all of the other volunteers and stuff that come along with it when you have that many people touching the ballots.
It's the, so many people, having to exchange, so much human interaction. And when there's that much human interaction, you can only imagine that there's going to be mistakes made.
But again, this isn't about the post office's inability to do its job. It is about the fact that there are poll workers out there and ballot harvesters that are going to go out amongst the town and go into like old folks' homes, and they're already gonna, they're gonna compile a whole bunch of them to go put in the back of their car in a bunch of boxes, and they have to transport it back and forth. And this is already happening in regular elections with regular absentee ballots, but now you put in tens and tens of thousands of additional ballots that people are not expecting. They're not sure they're going to be at their home. They could be people that don't even know that they're registered to vote, but they're going out there into the world, and now you've got all these ballots laying around, and these ballot harvesters are just going to be able to have a field day if they are not well regulated. And I don't know that we have the processes in place in every single part of this country to regulate that. And I mean, just think about the fact that right now, I know at least 3 people personally that have received positive COVID tests to their mail, and they have yet to take a COVID test. I saw a story the other day about somebody who was dead that for 6 months had received their positive COVID test.
Yeah.
So
and I know people as well that separately from Jake that have gotten positive results and never took a test.
It's happening all over the place. That's going to come out separate conversation. But the point is that when it comes to this type of ballot harvesting, this is something that is real, right? I want you to now think about your dumbest friend. Seriously, take a second, think about your dumbest friend.
I know who that is.
Okay, well, think about them for a second, and then tell yourself, if I gave you an entire stack of ballots, I said, hey, we need to get rid of these ballots. Like, this is something we need to do. We need to rig this election. Let's get rid of these ballots. Now, I want you to play a game in the comments with us. If I gave that to you, could you figure out how to get rid of a stack of papers? I don't know. Would you drive them somewhere? Would you throw them in the trash? Would you burn them, toss them in the ocean?
Leave your comments of how you would get rid of ballots.
It's something, again, like I said, you do not need to be intelligent to figure out how to destroy a stack of ballots or move them.
And if you are intelligent, I bet you're going to come up with some really creative ways to do it.
And so the reason I say that is because the real solution here is one of my other favorite topics that I don't get to talk about that often, and it's going to go over a lot of people's heads, is the blockchain voting concept and Bitcoin, which people, are still very confused about what the actual processes of how that works. So let me just very quickly and briefly try and explain what real solutions to safe voting look like. And now, in the simplest manner, something like this, when you do a transaction to a bank, money goes to a ledger that the bank holds, and they're a third party, right? And in Bitcoin, the same thing happens, but the ledger is seen by all computers all over the place. Anybody at the same time can access it. And so when that happens, every transaction that happens from your computer is tied back to you with a unique ID. And the power is the fact that it's not going to a third party. It's actually in the power that the fact that everybody around you can see that transaction happened at the exact same time and has the exact same access to do it, and there is a unique ID tied to it.
But it is anonymous.
And it can be done anonymously, and that's the whole point of Bitcoin. But so now there are companies out there, and I won't name any in particular because it's not quite there yet. So follow me on this. It's not quite there yet, but it's the same concept where if there will be a day that we figure this out and we don't have it be this scary big black box that people don't understand how it works, where people will be able to vote with a unique ID. It's posted to the blockchain, and then the blockchain is immediately posted all over the place. See, the problem is that American Idol really ruined online voting for all of us. I'm not joking with you guys at all. It really did, because people think that you can rig this type of thing because of the fact that if you just text in your vote doesn't really count. But that's the point, is that the person on the other side of that, they want to make sure Kelly Clarkson doesn't win, right? Or does win. I never watched the show, but the
Justin Guarini was really my American Idol.
I have no clue. But the difference between American Idol and blockchain voting would be that it doesn't actually all go to some guy's office in LA, right? It goes to everybody, and you can see the transactions. So you can't actually hack the blockchain and the transactions that happen. Now, people do, you hear the stories of people's wallets getting hacked, like their accounts getting hacked because their computer may be sitting at home and it's vulnerable or something like that. But everybody still knows the transaction took place. And even so, they can verify that there was a hack that took place as well. So it's secure in that way, which means that the entire world can monitor elections. And now imagine if that was applied to other countries in which you don't get to see, right? Russia is the American Idol judges, right? They just come out and say that, 7% of the vote went to Putin. And they have that. But if they were on a blockchain and everybody in their country was verified to vote, then everybody in the world would be able to see the results of that election.
Yeah, because it's a global network, there's no way to game the system. So if there was, say a large scale hacking, we would immediately know that it occurred. So there's no way to get around it, and that an investigation would be able to ensue.
Yeah, and now go back to the game we played before in the comments where I asked, how would your dumbest friend be able to hack an election if you handed them a box of paper ballots and told them to go throw it out? Now I want you to think about how would you hack the blockchain?
I'll wait.
Yeah, totally wait. Wait for it. I can't think of it. You can't think of it. And, at least if somebody on the comments can do it, it's your smartest friend that can figure that out.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the difference of what we're talking about. That's why, going back to paper ballots and mail-in ballots and everything like that, the reason why people want to do it is because it's not a difficult thing to alter. But it is complicated and it requires verification to do something like an electronic blockchain vote.
Yeah, and we have friends from places like Latin America or Africa, in countries where their elections are, an absolute mess. And, they talk about how blockchain could potentially save Western democracy. And that is the future, and that is something that they are hopeful for.
Yeah, and so hopefully, I think I did my best job to try and explain it to everybody. It is a difficult topic, so I will drop some extra links down below, and you use this show as a jumping off point to go and do some more research on that. It is a good idea.
I don't fully understand blockchain. I'll be completely honest. I'm not your smartest friend, so it's a tough subject, but it is something that, again, like I talked about innovation in the last episode, and this type of innovation could save democracy as we know it. So it's important to talk about, and it's important for our governments to try to learn about it.
Yeah, and that's what has us moderately outraged this week. If this episode made you moderately outraged, please like, comment, subscribe, go follow us on Instagram where we have extra content every week that's not just a single episode. And we want to thank, as always, BizPack Review, Conservative News Today for letting us on your platform. We thank you, and make sure you go out and vote because it is totally safe, and make sure that your polling stations are open.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.